So Chipp is kind of like the little Adderall child of Guilty Gear Strive, but he's not just as simple as spamming Alpha Blade, running at people as fast as possible, kind of. So if you're ever trying to get a little bit better at him, or want to switch from another character that you already feel pretty confident on, just trying to break that little peak to get into Celestial, this is a vid for you. Let's get into it. So as Chipp, essentially your goal is to make your opponent really nervous. And you're just going to do this by running them down constantly in neutral to the point where they feel like they have to act preemptively. And once you see that they're acting preemptively, you slow it down a little bit, get more patient, and start whiff punishing. So at this point, they're going to start second guessing their decision making, second guessing your approach. At which point, once you get in, you have to keep the pressure of the match really high, a bunch of new mix-ups, a bunch of long block strings. That way they can't ever really mentally catch back up to you. So, essentially you're creating momentum through confusion and never letting go. Now, in my last video, I talked a little bit about how Farslash can get outclassed, but I was just being a little bit blinded by my Happy Chaos experience and kind of just, downplay. Spam that shit. It's good against pretty much everybody else. It's just 9 frames, the hitbox comes out immediately. It's just amazing, and if you do it enough, you're going to force your enemy to act preemptively. At which point you can start IADing in, or FD dash canceling in. And let's talk about that FD dash cancel option first. So normally when you cancel a dash, either by letting go of your fucking controller or holding back, you have a few frames where you actually stop, meaning you're gonna go a bit farther than you expected usually, and you'll be forced to walk backwards if you want to block high. Now with the FD stop, you'll stop on the dime, meaning you have more time to block, and more importantly, you'll be able to immediately act again on the exact same spot, making your whiff punishes a lot more reliable. Now with that IAD or instant air dash that we talked about, we have a few options. We can go for an immediate heavy slash, or we could wait a second, see if they messed up or did something, and then go for an immediate heavy slash, which will actually typically be low enough to counter hit 6p for some reason. And on the other hand, we can simply just jump away or play it out if we don't want to commit. Let's talk about Farslash for a second real quick. If you're having trouble landing it, it doesn't seem like the right move, just start doing 5k and 2k. It's especially good in matchups like with Happy Chaos. The wiggle. You see a lot of really good players doing this. You want to wiggle around a bit in neutral mixed around with your FD stops to try and bait moves out of the enemy. Because if you're just standing there, you're not really going to be pressuring them to do anything anymore. And if they start covering the space with overly safe moves that you can't really punish, just run up with the move that'll beat it instead of waiting. So Chipp's backdash is super spammable, it's pretty fast, has 5 frames of invincibility, so don't be afraid to just use it when you're in a negative scenario. Just be afraid of overusing it, because then you're going to get negative bonus, danger, all that stuff, and you really want to avoid that. Try to avoid the air neutral. You're just better on the ground. But if you are there, here's some things you can do. Running jump 2Ks mixed in with dropping jump H's, mixed in with an extra jump 2K, or with an extra jump H, just to change the intervals of your timing so you're harder the anti-air. Offense, Chipp's favorite part of the game. You need to structure offense around stagger pressure, which just means delaying your moves properly. You never want them to feel confident in knowing if you're going to go for a pressure reset, go for a grab, continue your pressure as normal with your frame traps, and this is where the mind games and conditioning start to come into play. To structure the stagger, we want to start with either 5 or 2k. Let's start 5k. 5k Gatlings into a lot of options, but typically we want to go into another 5k or 2k. If we're too far, we want to do 2D so that we don't whiff. Just remember to make the delay between these options as slow as possible while still being an actual frame trap. Now that we give them use for a long delay, we can start going for grabs or reset the block string with something like close slash. Now at some point they're going to start stuffing your moves if you're going for a lot of pressure resets and grabs. Just stick to your 5k, 2k, 2D frame traps and be ready for counter and normal hit. Additionally, if they're backdashing a lot, be ready for that too. As the different combos, but they're pretty high reward, a lot of them. So the block pressure with 2k is basically the same, but the gap between two different 2ks is 7 frames, so it's not completely real, but it's still a great pressure option, and it seems to work better than 5k for things like resetting pressure and getting grabs. This could be due to its better frame data. It also doesn't push you nearly as far back as 5k. Gameplan is another great pressure reset tool that gives you almost enough time to run up and do anything. You typically want to throw it after a 2D or a 2H, a special cancel out of moves that aren't really used for long delays and don't have that normal pressure reset or strike throw going on with them. It's kind of hard to react to and can actually give a nice combo of hits, but be careful because a proper punish could cost well over half your HP.
That's a lot of damage!
Low slash is a move that is great on block. It's +1, so you can realistically get 5k or 2k if you want, even though they don't Gatling, or 2D or 2S2H, you get the deal. So Chipp's Rekka is very important when talking about his offense, as this is pretty much where every single block string will end if they don't get hit earlier. First thing to remember is that the first 2 hits are minus. Rekka 1 is -1 on hit and -3 on block, meaning it's pretty unrealistic to punish, but also means you can get a free move after if you're being a little bit cheeky. What you want to do with this move is once again stagger your hits as much as possible so that they have a little gap of doubt in between your first 2 Rekka hits. So you can throw in something like 2D or run up 2k or grab if you're really feeling it. And get some nice counter hit combos with Rekka 2 once they're starting to challenge. Now, with Rekka 2 you have to be careful about your next approach as the risk reward varies heavily with meter and opponent options. For instance, a few characters like Geo and Kai can actually guarantee punish your low Rekka, and some people will just block it to get a punish no matter what or who they're playing. You can also need to, say you get a Rekka 2 on hit, you need to RC to actually get a good combo out of it. So if your low Rekka is getting punished a lot, you have 2 options. You can do Rekka 1 and try to reset pressure, or you could go into Rekka 3 and try to fish for a huge counter hit combo if they're using something like a low hitting move or a low active frame move. Just be careful because Rekka 3 is terrible on block at -9 and it puts you at point blank range, meaning you could easily be losing the round off of it. So 6k is basically your main overhead. It's basically unblockable even though it's 20 frames, which is reactable. It doesn't have a good tail and flows seamlessly into your block string. You really want to only use it when you have 50 meters to spare though, because on hit it's only +1 and you get no combo. Or if you RC it, you get this nice RC forward into JD close slash, which can also be done on block. Or on block you can also RC down to a low. To throw the opponent for another loop, we're going to start throwing an alpha diagonal blade, which on hit results in a good safe jump in Oki, and on block is just -2, letting you still take advantage of your air mobility to try and keep that pressure out. To add some extra pressure, we're going to start alpha blading out of some of our normals onto the wall and often into dropping normals. Remember to hold down if you're getting pushed too far away. This could be moused out of, so be careful. Use the diagonal version with jump edge covered with 5k for the left side, and the P version into JS for the right side. Now we need to talk about Chipp's Infinite. After supering through the wall to get positive bonus, Chipp has an amazing and deadly Infinite. And what you're going to do is you're going to see Bean here absolutely crank their risk, and the moment their risk is at their max, 2k and 6k will have amazing meterless combos. And so you just want to throw the mix in. And on top of that, because all the pressure stacked on them because they have this risk this high, you can start going for things like grab as well, or just resetting the pressure. Just overall disgusting block string. Chipp has amazing Oki. The most common Oki setup we're going to be doing is 2D into OTG 5k or close slash. You can really do either. Close slash is a bit harder to land and can't be connected at certain distances, but does a full 5 extra damage.
Wow.
From here we can start with left right instant air dash, FD stop jump slash, which we follow up with 2S, 5k or 2k. It's really your choice. You have to FD real late to get onto the right side, but even when going on the left, you want to FD as late as possible just to keep the mix up really strong. Additionally, you can just FD into an empty jump to get a grab or a low. If you don't want to try to time the FD stop, that's a little too hard for you, you can just start by doing IAD heavy slash or jump 2k, which goes especially well into an immediate alpha blade. Also remember that all of these normals are they're all safe jumps, so remember to hold back when doing them, and if they're starting to backdash out of this setup, just remember to follow up with close slash so you can lock them down. Now let's quickly get into that alpha blade. It's basically the same as the last Oki setup, you know, you just dash, FD cancel into jump slash. Just the timing is a lot more variable, just because the distance Alpha Blade goes changes a lot. So quite a few of your strings will end with downwards Alpha Diagonal Blade, and what you're going to do is just walk up close slash Alpha Blade. And you know, you're going to hold it as before, and depending on the timing of the close slash and the Alpha Blade, you'll go on the outside or the inside. If you wait longer to do it, you'll be on the inside. Also, these are both safe jumps. Another great opportunity that we have to do very similar left-right is with 6H on airborne opponents, which we'll find we're landing pretty often. And the timing here is just a little bit slower. That's really the only difference. Sometimes you can find yourself doing it in slightly more optimal but more difficult combos as well. So say if the 6H was going to break the wall, we can instead get a left right off of JK. The earlier Alpha Blade gets you the left mix up with jump H, followed up by 5K. And the lower you are, you need to do jump slash to get on the inside. When JK is not close enough to the wall, we can instead go JK JD into Gamma Blade to get a pretty safe medium. The Chipp kind of has a lot of BnBs, so instead of listing them on this video, I'll just link to the few I made in my last video and an unlisted video of advanced BnBs that'll be uploaded soon. So Chipp's defense is surprisingly good for having the lowest HP in the game. So for one, you have a meterless invincible reversible. The only thing is that it doesn't go very far, so you're not going to get any DPRCs out of it. So for getting out of the corner, your air mobility is great, and your diagonal Alpha Blade helps a lot as it can go surprisingly far and isn't the worst at actually hitting. You also have a 3-frame 5P, which is pretty good at matching out of certain strings. And if you find yourself getting off a successful backdash and they're sitting there doing nothing, you can PRC forward for a good high-low 50-50. So full honesty, I haven't really played enough high level Chipp matchups to get an entire gist of the matchup chart, but I did some self-reflection, watched someone's video who's a lot better than me, and it went something like this. Just be a perfect player. You're better, you're faster, you're stronger, and most importantly, you can punish so many things that they can do, and you can do it so easily. I don't like this one, because I fucking hate, but I guess we have a 3-frame high hitting move, so that's good. Has surprisingly good options versus Chipp, so be careful. Just be the one taking the IR, not the XR if you catch my drift. You're faster, but they're also decent, I guess. Kai 5K just somehow became the best move in the game. He has great neutral and you can't really DP against him. I don't know, I just really like having a reason to hate Soul to people who play him. Good neutral, and his risk reward's just better. I think this character also has better risk reward. So you kind of win, but you also immediately lose if you slip up once. Big neutral, can't just simply run in. Good 2K. 2K just became the only move in the game. Unluckily for you, his has like quadruple the reward and has a 2S, which is just a big 2K. Haha, your entire game plan doesn't work anymore. Have fun having to sneak in Gamma Blade as meaties instead now everywhere. Also kind of shits on you neutral. I don't know, this character's too new. Use the practice mode a lot and slowly integrate new things into your play. Also drop, a comment below if you want to see a guide on how to effectively use the training mode if you're having some issues using it. So, despite all the fancy and fast shit you just learned, it's quite often literally best just to do something simple like super through the wall, and just remember to have overall patience in your match despite the nature of Chipp, and you'll surprise your opponent more than running at them from 10 different directions. Other than that, just have fun trying to break into Celestial.